he did not want to undermine the democratic process. I think he like read a poem or something like this. He went there. And let's remember though, the Republicans in Arizona are insane. This is Paul Gosar's party. Gosar was involved with the MAGA idiots like Ali Alexander who helped plan the Stop the Steal rally. These are people who should not actually be in office anymore. And I think maybe today we're gonna get more insight into Gosar at the January 6th hearings as they continue. So Rusty Bowers has a reason to hold on because maybe there will be some sort of accountability coming out of all this. Mind you, last thing I'm gonna say, the GOP in Arizona tweeted quote tweeted Ali Alexander when he said, "I will die for the president" on January 6th. And they wrote, he's willing to die. Are you? Official Jesus. Arizona GOP Twitter account. They were in cahoots. So good on Rusty Bowers, for sticking his neck out.
And I think he would still continue to vote for Trump. But again, how's that loyalty working out for you? As you point out there, how is that working out for you now? It's such an ongoing, continuous conversation about I have to have my loyalty to Donald Trump, loyalty to Donald Trump, loyalty to Donald Trump, loyalty. And every time they ask for that 1% of loyalty back, or at least even just saying, yeah, I understand where he's coming from. It's in order to be in good standing with Donald Trump, you have to be absolutely disloyal and disconnected from the truth or anyone who kind of leans in that direction, which I'm only gonna give Rusty that much. He's just leaning in that direction now.
R.I.P. Mo Brooks, man. I mean,
oh my God.
Bye.
Mo Brooks, bro. Come on, let's keep it real. There's a couple more things that people said. I'm looking for, there it is. Francesca, the line was, his mama named him Clay. I'm gonna call him Clay. Kamario Garth on YouTube Super Chat spent some cash. So I'm gonna go ahead and go to your explanation because I'm sure many people said it. He said, coming to America, coming to America.
Oh man.
It was, I think it was Arsenio Hall, one of the characters he played, said it. They were in the barbershop, they're talking about Cassius Clay and Muhammad Ali.
Nice, his mama named him Clay.
You know what, I'm not the type. Go ahead.
I've seen it, but I haven't seen it in a long time.
Right, see that's the thing. I'm not the type to be like, how dare you? That movie is from 1988 and you should have known by now, right? Because I get that, because I don't see movies from 2022 and be like, how could you? And I'm sorry, bro. I understand, it's a classic. But yes, his mama named him Clay, I'm gonna call him Clay. A couple more of y'all's comments since I'm already here and we only have like a minute left. Over on Twitch, Octo Squiddies says Ben Carson is the famous for being the first neurosurgeon to successfully remove his own brain. Pretty good. And yes, I have to address this because I figured people would wonder. Acme and the Packers. KD Dragon battling for truth and justice over a 2x2 member. Thank you for being a member. Says, good morning, JR. I hope you wear a Vikings hat soon. Supporting the enemy today with that Packers cap. Really? We're not in football season yet, but I do understand what you're talking about. I'll try and dig up the dusty Vikings hat. We'll see. Eric the Red, also a member, says, Acme Packers? Are they the people who send all that stuff to Wile E. Coyote?
Yeah, yes. I was gonna say.
Yeah. Last thought, I did see some roadrunners. I went out to Palm Springs. I never told anybody where I went. It was 115 degrees, and I saw like 2 or 3 roadrunners. I was like, They're so not cute. As big or as fast as they portrayed on Looney Tunes.
No, but they're cute as hell. It's also like when you see tarantulas in the desert, like going into Texas.
Totally looking for that.
It's crazy.
I wouldn't look for that. Let's keep it real. Francesca's crazy. But I also thank you for being here with us, Francesca. Thank you for being here again. Look forward to yet another time when I can take 2 weeks off. Maybe you could fill it.
Okay.
Again. Let's make
sure.
All right,
I gotta move that morning meeting though. 6:45. Come on now.
We'll do 6:15 p.m. Thank you guys also for being here with us. Up next is John Iadarola with the Damage Report. Go hang out with him. He's got some good things to say. Go ahead and have some analysis and political comments with him. We'll see you guys on a big Friday show tomorrow. See you.
Good morning, one and all, and welcome to another episode of The Damage Report with me, John Iadarola, and we are very lucky to be joined on the program once again by the host of Rayy-Actions, Rayyvana. Welcome to The Damage Report.
Thanks for having me back on. I love your intro. It's so fun.
Oh yeah. No, I had fun. We had the same one for like 2 years and people kept telling me to update it. Finally I did. And I love being able to put that political ad with the flailing farm animals.
Yes, that was the part that I was like, okay, this is it.
It's like the purest joy I've experienced in the news in the past couple of years. But anyway, very glad to have you here. Today is actually going to be Peak Ray on Twitch, because not only you're on our program, but Rayy-Actions is later today. How's that looking right now?
Looking good. You guys can't get enough of me today. Also Monday I'll be on the main show and then I'll be on Old School. So you'll have back-to-back Ray then as well. But yeah, we're gonna talk about K-Hive a little bit. We're gonna talk about Joseph Robinette Brandon getting COVID, all the fun stuff that's happened in the news. We'll have some good laughs.
I find that reference you just made to be discriminatory. So yes, I have been following your Twitter. Anyway, I don't understand. People are so insane online. Anyway, we have a lot that we're gonna be talking about, as was just alluded to. There's a president in the US that got COVID. To find out which, stay tuned. And we will reveal that. Then we're gonna be diving into a lot of other stuff. Some really interesting updates on January 6th. I believe I can now add a second entry to the list of things that I have successfully badgered Trump into doing by relentless mockery month after month. Stay tuned to find out what that is. Anna appears in a political ad, how exciting. And Matt Walsh doesn't understand anything about anything. And that's just in the first hour. In our last half hour, which we're gonna begin calling the aftermath, I think, we'll get an intro at some point. We have good news. We have a person doing good things. We have heroism, and it's not on Disney Plus. How exciting. Stay tuned to find out what all of that is about. And along the way, if you're on a platform that allows for things like liking the stream, now would be an excellent time to do it. Any other time would be equally good, but do it now. And if you want to send us any tweets, comments, super chats, or anything like that, we'll respond as we go. But with all that said, Rayyvana, are you ready to start the show?
I am absolutely ready.
Nice. You know what I like about Rayyvana? She's the only person I think that I've had on the show that can and does do what I do, which is simultaneously host shows and also get up in the chat on Twitch.
I love the chat. They're so fun.
Yeah, no, of course they are. But yeah, people, whenever I like send out a message when I'm on the main show, they're like, wait a second, are you not on the show right now? I'm like, you got hands? I talk out my mouth. I type with the fingers.
The show is not live, it's a lie. Pre-recorded, exactly. They've exposed you.
Yeah, it's all on teleprompter, by the way. This right now between me and Ray, that was scripted. We're pretty good performers. Anyway, okay, with that, why don't we get into the news? Joe Biden has COVID. It's the sort of statement that seems inevitable. It's the sort of statement that seems like, wait, it really took until now for him to get COVID, considering, his age and the fact that he's the president, he's surrounded by people. But no, if you are to believe the commonly pervaded narrative, for the first time, Joe Biden does have COVID. The White House put out a statement. They're saying that he is fully vaccinated, twice boosted, and experiencing very mild symptoms. He's been taking some things to try to assist him at this point, and they're gonna be doing sort of a version of kind of remote work, I guess. Now I know what you're thinking. How is he going to be able to maintain his rigorous schedule of not addressing any of the multiple crises facing America on a daily basis? And I don't know, but he has a lot of aides, and so I'm sure they'll figure something out, maybe with Zoom or something. But anyway, he does have COVID, and look, they're saying that it's mild. He has like a runny nose, I think they said, the sniffles, and look, BA.5, which is the dominant strain of COVID right now. It's very transmissible. It is very easy to get it. It's spreading quite rapidly. We're once again above like 130,000 cases a day. But assuming that you're vaccinated, it does tend to produce milder cases. Not for everyone. We're losing over 400 people a day. Never forget that. But so, fingers crossed. We're of course hoping that he pulls through. Not everybody is, and I'm sure we'll dive into that. But Rayyvana, what do you think about Biden getting COVID?
I am also shocked that it took this long. Have you had COVID?
I have never tested positive for COVID, but I believe that I've probably had COVID twice.
Okay, because it's just like this late in the game. Anytime someone's like, "No, I've never had COVID," it's genuinely a shock to me. But like you said, they said it's mild. He's double boosted, fully vaccinated. He'll be fine. He's got access to the best medical care in this country, which he's also receiving for free. It would be really great if everyone else in this country could receive healthcare for free, like the president of the United States is receiving. But maybe he'll feel so moved once he recovers from this bout of COVID to give that to us.
Maybe, and we'll see. I mean, maybe he'll be over it in a few days. Maybe it could get worse. It's just like I can't help but think back to when Trump got COVID. Those optimistic times. It's such a different situation because, of course, Joe Biden. Look, you can make the case that COVID is the only crisis he's taken seriously as president. Like, he doesn't seem to care about climate change or anything like that. But he is taking COVID seriously. He is vaccinating everything. When Trump got COVID, he could not be asking for it more. Like, if there is karma, if there is a cosmos to offend and receive strike back from, I mean, he did everything you could. And never forget, by the way, that the dude tried to give Joe Biden COVID. He lied about the fact that he knew he had COVID during that debate. And so I'm not saying that anyone here or any of you were sort of had your fingers crossed and thought, well, don't wish anything bad on anyone, but it might get through to people that COVID is bad if he were to, do what inevitably filet-o-fish will do in a few years. And so it's a very different situation, I think. I don't know. Are we being hypocritical?
I don't know. I will say that the most fun I've ever had on the internet was like the 3 days where Trump had COVID and it was really bad and we didn't know where it was gonna go. That was like one of the, aside from maybe before Bernie winning Nevada, like the most fun I've had on the internet and like a genuine feeling of hope. I'm not gonna lie, he got COVID and I was like, good, you deserve it. But I don't feel that way about Joe Biden.
Sure. And look, of course, I don't want anyone to die, of course. I mean, if you search the internet, a case could be made that I've done a little bit of content about how COVID is serious and I don't want people to die from it. But man, that guy really, like, think about how many people died because of the choices he made in terms of how he addressed COVID, how he talked about COVID. Like, so many people. I've lost people in my family. So, forgive me that once that news broke and he did his thing where he like walked back to the White House and then like breathed through the Swiss cheese that was his lungs, that I got a bit of a kick out of it. Or if there might have been a video that someone posted on Twitter of all of his comments making light of music that transitioned into those dancers. I forget which country it is. I'm inclined to say from Ghana.
The Ugandan funeral march.
Ugandan, I apologize. I don't remember specifically of them dancing. Did I play that on repeat for 6 weeks? Maybe, I don't know. But anyway, yeah. With Biden though, I think when the news broke that Biden had COVID, everyone has their reactions. This was such an interesting one from Farron Cousins, who says, I keep reading the Biden has COVID news in the same voice that Marge Simpson says, Lisa needs braces because my brain is officially broken. Biden has COVID. COVID plan. Biden has COVID. COVID plan. But anyway, I know that a lot of people responded less with thoughts about Biden himself and more about Kamala Harris. So you saw that President Harris was trending very quickly. One of the right-wing a-holes tweeted, "This is Kamala's moment." Yeah. So what do you think about the K-Hive? The K-Hive, let's be fair, they generally have a pretty good view of Biden, I think. That may be tampering some of the celebration, but what do you think about this?
Yeah, I think this is probably not K-Hive and mostly right wingers because they're like, trying to say Kamala's going to be a bad president. She would be a bad president, but they're also, the implication here is that Joe Biden is going to die, and like that's what they're trying to say without overtly just saying that. Yeah, we want Joe Biden to die. They can say, oh, President Harris or whatever, and allude to the same thing. Not that they would be happy with President Harris, but just they, I know they would find joy in Joe Biden dying, which is like, it's, I just made a joke about Trump, so I guess I can't go too harshly against them.
Well, yeah. Look, I appreciate you with your very diplomatic commentary towards the K-Hive. I know that you have never in the past done anything to evoke their ire, and thus there'd be no reason for them to attack you online, and you're maintaining that grand tradition. Just briefly, again, I don't like hypocrisy, okay? My opposition to hypocrisy has become increasingly useless because the right doesn't care when they're hypocritical, so pointing it out seems like a big waste of time. That said, like wanting Biden to die and wanting Trump to die when he was president, are those the same thing? I mean, yeah, if those are all the words you have, sure, that sounds similar. Arguably, like the reasons to have an issue with why do they hate Biden? I mean, look, kind of because he beat their god emperor, sure, that's true. Aside from that, something Hunter Biden? Like what has Biden done that should really offend a right winger? If we want to flip that with a leftist for Donald Trump, I can cite a few things. In fact, you can look at the collected works of the damage report over the last 4 years or so. There were reasons to be frustrated. What has Biden done? Largely continued the Trump era immigration policies, largely continued the same relationship with Saudi Arabia, largely done nothing whatsoever to deal with climate change, allowed the Supreme Court to shred people's rights. This has kind of felt somewhat similar to the Trump years with a little bit less, bombastic buffoonery.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Anyway.
I think that the one thing that Biden has done that really sets off conservatives is that he genuinely loves his son. Regardless of what Hunter Biden does, it's just clear that Biden adores his son and loves him unconditionally. And conservatives will never know what it's like to have the unconditional love of their father. And they're desperately seeking for that in Trump.
Exactly, yeah. They just, and in particular, I mean, even if it's not about their individual relationship, that it affects, they know who Trump is. They know who Trump is in relation to his kids. They know all of the weird stuff about Trump. And all they have inside of them is projection and misplaced racial pride. That's all they have. And so they want to attack Biden for all of the things that they felt uncomfortable on some level, hidden, that they would never acknowledge during the Trump years. And so that's gonna come out here too. I mean, look at the fact that even before Biden got COVID, they love to talk about how more people had died from COVID under Biden, even though, look, setting aside the fact that we've had more time with Biden during the pandemic than Trump, that's the only time they've ever cared about people dying from COVID. Largely, people are still dying because they don't care and they wouldn't do anything. So yeah, there's some inconsistency there, I've noticed. In any event, I haven't seen any other updates about Biden. If they're admitting to it now and he's only got the sniffles, my guess would be that he is probably not gonna have a serious case of this. That doesn't mean that Fox isn't gonna have a solid 72 hours of insane speculation. That has already begun. And I don't know what Tucker Carlson is going to say about Biden tonight, Rayyvana, but I have faith in him that it's gonna get real dark and real gross.
I can only imagine. I've been wondering if he got COVID from his trip to see MBS. That's just sort of been playing through my mind all day. But
you think the fist bump wasn't enough to save him there?
No, definitely not.
Maybe. Okay, well, look, Sophie, I'm gonna overrule you. We're gonna go to an early break and have a nice, meaty, thick second block. So don't worry about that. We got a lot to talk about, including some fun stuff. We'll see you after this. Okay, everybody, let's see what's going on out there. Okay, apparently I am reading that we're gonna be covering the final January 6th committee hearing today, right after the Young Turks. The bonus episode is available to everyone today. So if you are not a member and you've been wondering what the hell goes on in that thing, today is your day to peek behind the curtain. You've got Cenk Uygur, Jessica Burbank. That's gonna be a lot of fun. Brett Ehrlich at some point at 9 p.m. Eastern is gonna be taking over, but you can start off watching this coverage at 8 p.m. Eastern time, 5 p.m. Pacific time. I think this is the climax of this set of hearings. They've gone back to prime time. I believe the idea is that they're gonna show some of the footage of right wingers understandably cowering in terror on January 6th. As soon as it was over, they came out. No, they're big, strong men. They weren't worried about anything. Oh, AOC says she was scared. I wasn't. Wait until you see them hiding under their tables. Understandably, I would have been terrified. It's the hypocrisy once they're out of that dangerous situation that I think makes it worthy of a mockery. And so I look forward to that, and you can watch it today. Also, a couple things I wanted to let you know about. One is that the tier 3 member hangout, which happens every month on our YouTube channel, is today. That's Thursday the 21st, I believe that's today. Yes, 12 p.m. Pacific time, 3 p.m. Eastern. Myself and a group of our tier 3 members on YouTube hang out and just talk about whatever. Is it sometimes about the MCU? Yeah, get off my back. Sometimes it is. Did I really enjoy Miss Marvel? Yeah, probably I'm gonna talk about it, and the boys and a lot of other stuff. So you can come hang out. You can upgrade your membership or become a tier 3 member if you wanna hang out with us. Also, and this is unrelated to TYT content, but did you know that Alonzo Bowden, awesome all-around guy and comedian and friend of the show, has a new special which you can actually watch. It's Stupid, Don't Get Tired. I've been watching it as I was producing this morning. It's available on YouTube at the Helium Comedy Studios YouTube channel. If you want a direct link to it, I tweeted about it just yesterday, so you can find it there. Alonzo's a great guy. Everyone should definitely go support him there. Now, let's jump into some of your, you know what, actually before the comments, I did wanna say one thing. This is probably gonna be incredibly frustrating to Sophie, but I decided to do it today. We are now in the first day of a new era. The 3rd year of producer Sophie working at the TDR. How exciting is that? She has put up with us and me specifically, and indeed my direct mockery of her during the show for 2 full years. So credit to her, Sophie, thank you for all the work that you do. Okay, with that, let's get into your comments. Ganja Goddess Dragon says, John, did you get a haircut? No, just for the first time ever, I took one of the many creams or waxes or pastes or whatever that guys are supposed to put in their hair so that they'll look good or whatever, and I put it in my hair. I don't normally do anything. I normally woke up like this. Anyway, okay, comments from the audience. Dr. Johnny Bananas, is it the real Dr. Johnny Bananas? Says, John, fear not, I'm administering the secret monkey medicine as we speak. This is like the best day ever for Dr. Johnny Bananas in the chat, that he can now once again pop out. Please get the special monkey meds into Brandon's arm as fast as you can. Hold on a second. Shoegaze Dragon Georgie says, Sophie greater than John. Damn you. Damn. Anyway, Jason Ray says, said it before and we'll say it again. We will find out there are child-sized skeletons in Matt Walsh's closet. And he won't understand how they got there because he doesn't understand anything. Anyway, let's see. Hurtis says last half hour, the dragon's tail. I think we've sort of decided. Actually, when we come back from this, I'm gonna read the final poll results, make sure that everybody gets access to that. But before that, we do have to transition over. Lots more news to get to. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back after this. Okay, everybody, yesterday on both YouTube and on Twitch, we polled you for what we should call the last half hour of the show, since people began to demand that we have a name for it. And the polls are pretty definitive. Over on YouTube, the Aftermath got 49% of the vote. Aftershocks got 18%, the Fallout got 32%. So sorry, Fallout 4 fans. Yeetwood Mac said that the polls on Twitch had 51% going for Aftermath. So it looks like that's probably what it's gonna be. Thank you to everybody who voted, do appreciate it. And with that said, why don't we jump into some insanity with this?
They're Bolsheviks, so they probably do hate the American founders and most white people in general. This is a Bolshevistic anti-white campaign. If you can't see that, your eyes are freaking closed.
Garrett Ziegler was a former Trump White House aide, specifically an aide to Peter Navarro, the trade guy, who's getting his advice from that bozo, specifically this bozo. Here he is. It doesn't matter, the picture, but on another level, it kind of does. So if we could bring that up, you're gonna say, there he is, Garrett Ziegler. And then also, this is a photo of him right before he went in to speak to the January 6th committee. Because it was that experience that led him to go on a 27-minute long, no breath rant on his Telegram channel about the Bolsheviks and the anti-white people. We're gonna return to the idea that the committee is anti-white. But first, I wanna give you a little bit more from his diatribe. Here it is.
I'm the least racist person that many of you have ever met, by the way. I have no bigotry. I just try to see the world for where it is. I have no sort of army to hit back at them, right? Because I'm the young guy in the room, and they're not even going after any other young people. The other young people in the White House are total hoes and thoughts, like Cassidy Hutchinson and this Alyssa Farah Hobag, who are just terrible. I mean, they have no clue what they're saying.
Okay, so least racist person. Generally, if you want to know if someone is racist or not, you only need to wait until they assure you that they're the least racist person you'll ever meet. And that's done. We got no more questions. You're obviously not a racist. Misogynist? Yeah, he ain't claiming not to be one. And it became clear in that commentary that that dude has some views on women, I think, that might be worthy of federal investigation at some point. If anybody has skeletons in the closet, that dude's looking like there might be some women who came to regret spending time around him. In any event, he spoke to the January 6th committee. He says that he basically just invoked the 5th because he's sticking with Trump, if that's not clear. By the way, he said that the committee is anti-white. They hate all white people. Here's the committee. Like, I don't know if this is designed to just be an attack against Benny Thompson specifically, but the committee's pretty damn white. I mean, I don't think that their problem with you is that you're white, Garrett. I think it's pick a thing. It's any other thing about your whole general vibe, your political commentary, the weird hatreds and fears you have of women. I think that might be more of an issue. Oh, or it could be the fact that you were a part of that like 4-hour-long meeting in the White House that led to Donald Trump asking for conservatives from around the country to convene in the Capitol on January 6th. The fact that you were there, maybe that's what it's about and not Bolshevism. But Rayy, what do you think?
I'm sorry, I'm just so caught up on what the hell happened to his chin. He went from the squarest shaped face I've ever seen in my life in that picture, and then he transitioned into no chin. What happened? Are those the same person? I'm just so hung up on that.
I think that everybody's mojo is holed up in one part of them, and then when they lose their mojo, they lose that thing. But no, look, this is a well-documented phenomenon that when you are a young male conservative, if you think really hard about right-wing stuff, you will look 40 by the time you're 25. That's just what happens to you. I don't know what it is. It's sort of like an opposite Dorian Gray thing that happens, but you find it time and time again. In any event, it's probably not the most important part of this, but look, he was involved in that meeting. Whatever it is that happened there, whatever they said about their objectives or what they hope to accomplish on January 6th was there. And so I think it's perfectly justifiable that they would want to talk to him.
Yeah, and just like for anyone watching who doesn't know, because he said Bolshevik quite a few times, he means Jewish when he says Bolshevik. It's an anti-Semitic dog whistle. So he's the least racist person you'll ever meet, but he's saying that the committee is being controlled by Jews.
Yeah. Wait, are you implying that he might be anti-Semitic? If only we had a little bit more evidence of that. Roll the tape.
I understand if you're frustrated that it wasn't recorded because I don't give many notices, because I'm not a fame and the world's not revolving around me, and I don't expect people to, to set aside time every day to listen to me. I still don't understand how Ben Shapiro has people who listen to him every single day. I mean, I can't listen to that guy for 5 minutes. I don't know how. I mean, I know he's selling solar yarmulkes, but I don't know how anybody listens to that guy.
Look, I don't dwell in the right-wing bubble. I don't know what the solar yarmulke thing is about. I don't know, maybe that's an inside joke between him and Ben. I kind of think it's not. It kind of seems like a weird, random anti-Semitic comment to make from this guy. Again, exactly, it's one of the things, it's the energy provider for the space laser. It bounces off. No, all of this is absolute madness. Yeah, of course, he's an anti-Semite. They're all anti-Semites. That's just a part of the philosophy. You can't go around thinking that you're the best for your race, for your class, for your religion, for your sexual orientation, for your gender identity. oh, but no, I don't have a problem with Jewish people or whatever. They're supremacists in everything. We focus on certain parts of it. We focus on the white supremacy, but that's all they are is hierarchy. And of course, they're gonna place people from other religious traditions on a lower rung. And it manifests when they so casually lay out anti-Semitic comments like that.
Yeah, and like the casualness like should concern people, right? Because this is someone who was extremely close to, he literally worked for the Trump administration, and he has no fear publicly recording these things and posting them publicly. This isn't some secret recording. He chose to post this. He feels comfortable in this type of racism, and those are the people who Trump surrounded himself with when he was in office. So if anyone tries to tell you Trump wasn't a racist or his administration wasn't, edging towards fascism, just play the tapes, because they'll tell you themselves, the people who work for his administration themselves will admit that, yeah, they're racists, they're anti-Semites, they're fascists.
Yeah, and they're insane. I mean, he's apparently frequently said that the election was stolen. January 6th was one of the greatest orchestrated false flags in history. It doesn't matter how many hundreds of Trump fans plead guilty and spend a couple weeks in jail. Like, evidence has nothing to do with any of it for these people, because we have these flaws. Even if you're just a centrist, but if you're a leftist, you have these flaws. You believe that what you believe should be attached to reality. How dumb of you. How stupid of you to believe that. You think you should be consistent, that if you hold a principle in one situation, you should probably hold that principle in another situation. How stupid of you to not be hypocritical. Hypocrisy is fun, it's very convenient. No, they don't care about any of this. They want to stay in power. They are fascists. That is all that this is about. And God only knows what this guy is going to be saying after, like a lot of people are only discovering who he is after these insane rants. I am going to guess, and it's a bold guess, that more is going to come out about this guy and his past comments. In any event, let's jump forward to one small little update. I mock Trump for a lot of different things. You probably know that if you watch. But one of the things that I've always thought was so funny about him is that he loves to promise that he's going to help people, that he's going to pay off their loyalty, whether it's top aides or regular people who support him. They donate to him. They do coups for him, but he almost never does. He loves to say that he'll pay off their legal bills. And let's be clear, he could do that for all of them, and it would have no material effect whatsoever on his life. He's supposedly a billionaire. It wouldn't even scratch the surface. But he doesn't do it, and so we mock him. And we also, of course, mock his fans who don't seem to get that he doesn't value them literally at all. Well, it looks like maybe he's heard, because apparently he has decided to finally make good for some of his promises. He has been paying the legal bills of some witnesses in the January 6th committee's hearings. Apparently, the payments from his political committees to firms representing them is now approaching $2 million. Now, these lawyers are really expensive. That could be 5 people, I don't know. But he is actually providing some of their legal defense. Not regular people, by the way, not the people who are trying to kill cops with Trump flags or anything like that. No, it's people like Garrett Ziegler and stuff like that. But he is actually doing that. And according to the Daily Beast, it's raising concerns among Democrats and legal experts that the ex-president is once again trying to exert influence over witnesses who could have information implicating him in possible criminal activity. I learned that there's apparently nothing illegal about this. Like, if there are people who are being brought in to testify about the illegal acts that you are alleged to have committed, you can pay millions of dollars of their legal bills, and that's frowned upon, but not illegal, apparently. Rayyvana, that seems weird to me as a non-lawyer.
Yeah, it's a bit ridiculous in the same way that it's ridiculous that there's no code of ethics for Supreme Court justices. Like things that Clarence Thomas has done, not recusing himself from deciding on issues regarding January 6th, something his wife played, a key role in. If any other judge would absolutely have to recuse themselves, or they would have to step down. But when it comes to so many parts of our legal system, there's just nonsense, complete nonsense. But yeah, I mean, like, naturally, of course, we all know that Trump is influencing these people. He's only paying their legal fees because he wants them to not throw him under the bus. And he knows that they need some sort of legal defense in order to not implicate themselves in any crimes. And as long as he's funding their legal defense, he has control essentially over, what they say, because he can pull that money away and then they're screwed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I am sure that we could come up with some situation where it's like family members or something. Even that seems sort of weird. But the idea that like people that worked for you are being asked about things you've said, they're being asked to transfer over like sensitive documents, communications, and stuff like that. And he, I'm assuming, couldn't just cut them a straight check for $1 million. Mm-hmm. That would be tampering, right? But he can give them $1 million in legal defense. At the end of the day, that feels similar to me. It's just, it's such a weird, like the standards are so different depending on what class you're a part of. Like what is allowed, what is suspect and unethical, and if you're rich enough, what you're allowed to get away with. Like no regular person would even conceive of being able to do this. It would be the most obvious bribe ever. But as with so many different sorts of bribery in DC, no, it would be impolite of you to even point that out. Anyway, any other thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, it's just the idea behind it, right? Is that the person has the right to decline. So Trump can offer to pay for the legal services and they have the right to decline. And it's mitigated interference. So it's like a more of a gray area. But in practice, of course, it operates in the same exact way as if he just gives them $1 million and tells them what to say or tells them what attorney to hire, but doesn't pay it directly. I mean, it's exactly the same.
Yeah, and it feels similar to the fact that he was holding over a lot of the people who were being questioned back during his presidency, the possibility of a pardon. Mm-hmm. I wonder if maybe this is a bit too forward thinking for him. I wonder if he has dangled potential future pardons were he to become president again for some of these people. But by the way, if you're one of the witnesses, the idea that you would trust him, that's an interesting road to go down, an interesting life choice. But he could in theory do it. He's done wholly corrupt pardons in the past, so why wouldn't he do that again were he to become president again? So anyway, stay tuned, we'll find out together. With that though, why don't we transition to something very different? Let's launch into this.
We'd like you to keep your promise to us, if you please, sir.
And now I've got the #1 miracle in a bottle to burn your fat. It is the new Miracle Berry. Lightning in a bottle. The miracle of the year. It's raspberry ketone, sea buckthorn, alpha cyclodextrin, green coffee bean extract, yacon syrup, red palm oil, Garcinia cambogia. It's a miracle flower. This miracle pill, brand new miracle.
Do you believe that there's a miracle pill out there?
There's not a pill that's going to help you long-term lose weight and live the best life without diet and exercise.
You ought to be ashamed of yourself.
Okay, so that was an ad release recently by Midas Touch, and it definitely goes at Dr. Oz from a very different direction than I've seen recently. Look, a lot of people have been pointing out the weird political shift that he's undergone, the fact that he is even more thoroughly dispensed with any respect for understanding of science than he did earlier in his career, the fact that he's running for Senate in a state that I guess he's visited once or twice, but doesn't seem to have much of a history with. To focus on the fact that he was an obvious crook, con man, and swindler is totally legit. They're correctly pointing out that, yeah, no, he just grifted people who were desperate, who wanted to get healthier, lose weight, or whatever it was. He used that for years and years to become a multi-millionaire, and it's disgusting that he did that. Do you think that could actually get through in a way that some of the more explicitly political stuff might not, Rayyvana?
I think it's interesting because a lot, like weight loss, that's really what he was hawking, right? Was weight loss supplements. It's really difficult for a lot of people. And the idea that they could lose weight quickly with these products that he's trying to sell to them, would really entice a lot of people. And the fact that they didn't work, people didn't see those results. I think that people could connect with that. But I think the stronger angle is the political things in this case, because I mean, Trump had all this sorts of fraud, illegality in his background, heinous acts that he's committed, and people still voted for him. But when it comes to Pennsylvania, and the Midas video does touch on this, he's not from there. And John Fetterman, it has a long record and a career of public service, specifically in Pennsylvania, that really connects with the voters there. And this Dr. Oz doesn't even live there.
Wait. Are you implying that Fetterman has done political work in the state that he is running in?
That is the accusation I'm making.
Oh my God, I think that could really help him out, actually. Strong point of differentiation between him and yeah, of course. I mean, I don't know. I wonder, like, we know that, I don't want to speak for you, but for me, it's just so weird how much they don't mind being conned, like openly and repeatedly by the politicians, by the media. And look, it's not only on the right. Let's just say that there are those on the left. There are politicians who make grand claims and take a bunch of money in fundraising and clearly don't intend to do anything. How many fundraising ads have you gotten from Nancy Pelosi, but all the stuff she's gonna do? And then, let alone some of the people in, media or whatever. But on the right, they don't care at all. They seem to love a person the more that person cons them. That said, the weight thing is so personal. And I think so many people in America have struggled with it and feel that they've been lied to or deceived. I don't know, maybe it could break through. But let's get a little bit more of the ad and see how they build on that argument.
You may think magic is make-believe, but this little bean has scientists saying they found the magic weight loss cure for every body type.
A recent study found the main ingredient in those magic beans not only failed to help lab mice, it gave them the early symptoms of diabetes.
I'll fight to secure the border so we don't have to fly illegal immigrants into airports like this in the middle of the night.
He actually had to pay the largest fine in American history for employing undocumented workers. $95 million? I can't even believe this figure.
Well, I have to say, I liked the breakdown from that first news guy. I looked him up and I think his name is John Oliver. But that second woman, she made some really good points. That is a devastating indictment of his hypocrisy when it comes to undocumented migrants being exploited here, Rayyvana.
Come on, don't you know that John Oliver is bringing fascism to America? He's the strongest proponent of capitalism. Have you not seen those people online who?
Wait, is that a thing that people are actually saying?
Oh yeah, they think that the joke is that he points out the problems of capitalism without ever identifying capitalism as the problem, which is like, one, not true, but two, like, he's the reason that my mom is now pro sex work decriminalization. Like, he's a very easily digestible form of media with a strong left-wing positions on, at the very least, like domestic American policies. So, but I mean, yeah, like. Especially just again bringing back I'm sorry, my cat really wanted to make an appearance. She's standing right in front of me. But the thing, making a comparison between Fetterman and Dr. Oz here. The other thing about this undocumented, the largest fine for hiring undocumented workers in the history of the country that he had to pay is, these were like domestic workers, and it reminds people that he is an extremely wealthy individual. He's just not. He is not relatable. And John Fetterman is an everyman's man. He is a Pennsylvania man. He's from there. People really like him there. And so like the juxtaposition between the two of them could not be stronger.
Well, and we're seeing that reflected in the polls, which unfortunately we haven't had a poll yet this month, but Fetterman had been leading in the last few that I saw, and certainly in the fundraising with Fetterman, at least in terms of small dollar donations, absolutely whomping him, 10-1 almost. By the way, I want to reassure everyone in the chat, especially apparently the new people. I know who John Oliver is. I like John. I was going to be very clear. I was making a joke about myself because very frequently on Mondays, I would annoy Francesca by bringing up whatever it is that John Oliver talked about. Yeah, and by the way, like I think that among people on big channels, I think that John Oliver's the best. Yeah. Not just in terms of what he talks about, but indeed specifically because I don't think that he stays on the surface level. I think he very often shows the history of things and how they relate, the structural. Does he do enough indictments of capitalism system? I don't know. I think he generally is pretty critical of it. Like it's such a ridiculous assertion to make.
Yeah.
And by the way, it's being made by people that have no goddamn clue. They're not watching John Oliver and then being infuriated by the fact he's not talking about. They have no idea. I get messages from people. I got a message. It was like, it was to me and to Anna and Cenk. It was like, why won't you talk about this thing? It was something that was seen to make it was the Jill Biden thing, I think it was. It was like, oh, you don't want to talk about it because it's critical of Biden because they think I'm not willing to criticize Biden.
Big Biden stan.
I had talked about it earlier that day on the show. Cenk and Anna had talked about it on the day before's show. He had no idea and he didn't care to find out. That's what this criticism is like. They're not coming from people who are like, we get criticisms from viewers quite frequently, not that often because we're great. But sometimes they will criticize us for things we don't talk about enough and those sorts of things. Those are from people who actually care. It's coming from a position of good faith and intellectual honesty. But these a-holes have no idea to attack John Oliver of all people in the media for this.
I hate to bring this
I know
up.
we're supposed to be talking about Fetterman. I
It's
apologize
okay.
that I'm not about John Oliver.
I see that I've awakened the John Oliver defense team, but I feel like I just have to bring up this one last thing. As long as we're talking about this, I saw someone say that there is no difference between Real Time with Bill Maher and Last Week Tonight with John Oliver because those shows are both on HBO.
My God. Bill Maher could successfully primary some Republican senators from the right.
Yeah.
John Oliver. Jesus. Anyway, okay, fine. What we're gonna do now is we're going to take a few moments I'm gonna try to settle myself down. We're gonna go to a social break. When we come back though, we're gonna launch into all of the different things that Matt Walsh doesn't understand after this. Dragging Myself to Work says, my criticism is that TYT and TDR are too awesome. Hey, wait, that's not an actual criticism. I see what you did there. Thank you. No, I do appreciate that. It Can Be, by the way, said, Judy Garland was great. And I just thought, yeah, it's pretty good. It was. It's not often said. Anyway, the IT Dragon says, Ziegler looks like the Vought News Network guy from The Boys. What do you think, John? I think he wishes. He looks a little bit like him. Also, someone in the chat was like, he looks like John. Get out of my chat.
No!
How dare you?
That is so
How dare
mean.
you?
He does not look like you.
That is unfair. I look bad in my own unique way, okay? And not like any other bad looking guy. Anyway, with that said, let's jump into some other comments that aren't vicious and unfair. Arsenic's birthday is today. Shout out to you turning 43. Congratulations on the birthday. Glad to have you here.
Happy birthday.
Galfar, who will never let this go, says the only criticism I have of John is that he believes The Last Jedi is the best Star Wars movie when he knows deep down he is wrong. I think it is a conversation that could be had.
That's the worst one.
The Last Jedi is the worst. Have you seen Rise of Skywalker?
Okay, sorry, you're right. You're right. I mean, I don't know. They're both really bad.
It's good. It's got this. If you like Star Wars, it's probably for a few reasons. And what does The Last Jedi have? Good space battles, maybe the best lightsaber fight ever, an amazing siege, really awesome planets.
It also
cool
has
planetary wildlife.
Princess Leia, for some reason, like Naruto flying with her arms backwards back into the ship, despite the fact that she's never ever exhibited an ability to use the Force to that capacity. Sorry, I'm a big Star Wars nerd.
Well, sure, in the now established canon, but obviously if you've read the expanded universe books, she is an accomplished Jedi in her own right. Yes, I do not love that scene. I feel like they could have done that in a different way. It's a bridge too far. I don't love that, but there's great stuff. And porgs are awesome. So everyone shut up about the porgs. Okay, I love porgs. Anyway, with that said, Moondragon sent in a super chat to say, here's to Sophie. Oh, nice, oh, nice. Hillary says, missed the pre-show live this morning, but was pleasantly surprised with a gifted sub from Moondragon. What a great start to my morning. There's a few people who've been doing a lot of gifted subs over on YouTube. Moondragon is one of the best. Thank you to everybody who does that and helps us expand the community. Really appreciate it. Rocky 5 has been a member for 16 months. Thank you very much. Glad to have you here. Spider Weenie says, English Republican, not that kind, lefty socialist. Could you wish me happy birthday, John? I'm 42 today. It would make me smile. Then consider it done. Happy birthday. Glad to have you here. I love our international viewers. I love that people in other countries care enough like to pay attention. It's hard enough to get people in America to pay attention. So
sometimes they do it to make fun of us because of things being so bad over here, but that's fun too.
I think we're asking for it.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay, let's see. Made money to building. It says your hair is getting long, John. Making a breaky burrito and having a mimosa. I'm gonna watch my favorite show, TDR. Awesome, thank you. I love breakfast burritos. They're so good. Anyway, yes, it is getting a little bit on the long side. I'm probably gonna shave it soon. Ellinger gifted a tier 1 sub, but even more important than that, it went to Ray.
Woo! Yes.
What a small world.
Thank you so much for the sub.
Awesome. Blue Tech the Belgian Dragon gifted 5 subs over on Twitch as well. Thank you. Tai Chi Chuan Dragon gifted 1 as well. So nice. Thank you for that. Diamond Joker gifted 5 as well. Look at everybody being so nice over in the chat. Okay, you know what? For that, we'll give you more news. Okay, so don't go anywhere. We're gonna talk about some fun stuff after this. Donkey Teeth in the chat is saying Rogue One is greater than every other Star Wars movie.
It's good, but it's not that good.
It's good. It's got some great sequences, and I love that robot. But it's not. No, the first 9 minutes of The Last Jedi is the best Star Wars that has ever existed. The fight against the Dreadnought is my favorite sci-fi short movie ever. It's so great. I tear up every time. Anyway, with that said, we're gonna jump into some other news, starting with this. Matt Walsh is a right-winger in media, and so you're not gonna be surprised to find out that he neither understands nor acknowledges climate change. That's pretty stock at this point, but he goes way beyond that in his ignorance and his misinformation. Take a look at what he decided to tweet recently. Remember when they spent years telling us to panic over the hole in the ozone layer and then suddenly just stopped talking about it and nobody ever mentioned the ozone layer again? That's not it though. This was also back during the time when they scared school children into believing that acid rain was a real and urgent threat. Now look, is it possible that we live in a world where Matt Walsh is genuinely dumb enough to not have any idea about how stupid those tweets are? I will acknowledge that we might live in that world. He seems pretty enthusiastically ignorant. I think a more likely explanation though is that he really thinks his fans are ignorant and he likes it and wants them to stay that way. And so he is being paid by millionaires and billionaires to openly lie by cosplaying Comic-Con style as the dumbest man to ever live. He might be the dumbest man to ever live, but I'm going to extend him the credit. I'm going to do an olive branch and assume that he's just grifting that he's this stupid. Now we're gonna break down scientifically why those tweets might be the dumbest things ever posted on Twitter. But Rayyvana, I know I think that you've commented on Matt Walsh a time or two as well. What do you think about these?
Yeah, I think that Matt Walsh somehow manages to maintain the title of creepiest person at Daily Wire, and his competition is pretty stiff. I mean, you've got Ben Shapiro and Michael Knowles, who looks like if a magician was also a sex predator, and still somehow, Matt Walsh is taking the cake. I'm sorry, the way that he has engaged with trans people online is, and through his documentary, one of the most disgusting things I've seen promoted recently. And he also loves to promote his disgusting transphobic movie documentary on our videos. On all of our videos, which is just showing how much money they have to throw away because you're literally targeting an audience that will never watch your movie instead of spending your money, allocating your resources to promoting your movie to transphobes who will watch it. But I digress.
Disgusting.
He sucks.
Absolutely disgusting. Yeah, and again, maybe he actually hates the trans community as much as he would imply. Maybe he is actually as ignorant about womanhood as he would have you believe. But more likely, no, he knows. He is on TV. He's been given a career by millionaires to protect their economic supremacy. And it's a really convenient thing to distract right-wingers from the fact that their economic lives are in absolute shambles by getting them to hate some trans second grade teacher who lives 1,500 miles away. He is an active part of that. He is duping you. If you're a conservative, he's duping you. Now, I know it's hard to admit that you've been duped, but understand that there are communities who will help you if you can come to that realization. It's actually far sadder to just continue to be duped by a rich person who thinks you're a moron. But he is a moron, and we're gonna explain why. Now, he would have you believe that the only people who cared back in the 70s into the 80s about the ozone layer are those damn woke hippies. You know who really wanted to protect the ozone layer? Ronald Reagan, wokester supreme. And how did this actually work? What does the example of dealing with the hole in the ozone layer actually prove? Now, he would imply it's like climate change. It's something they talked about, and then there was never anything to it. Let's talk about real facts. In 1974, there were some scientists. Actually, oddly enough, I got to sit at a dinner table once at an environmental conference with Mario Molina. But anyway, published a paper theorizing that CFCs could destroy, so this is, they're used in a bunch of different things, refrigeration systems, cleaners, a lot of stuff, could destroy ozone in Earth's atmosphere. Until then, they were thought to be harmless, like everything that industries pump into our planets and our bodies, until we finally reveal that they are in fact bad. Their findings were attacked by industry, who insisted their products were safe, in the same way that the fossil fuel industries pretended that climate change didn't exist. Now, the use of CFCs continued unabated, and by the 1970s, they were ubiquitous across the globe. They were used as coolants in refrigerators and air conditioners and aerosol spray cans, and as industrial cleaning agents. 1 decade later, the British Antarctic Survey confirmed a hole in the ozone layer based on the prior theorizing and suggested a link to CFCs. So you have an actual problem that is being caused by something industry is producing. Industry is lying about it, attacking scientists who reveal things about it. Scientists continue to do the work in trying to get people to understand what needs to be done. Then in 1987, remember the whole Ronald Reagan thing in 1987? The Montreal Protocol was adopted to protect the ozone layer by phasing out the chemicals which deplete it. And during the next 15 or so years, the production and consumption of CFCs was brought to a halt. By 2009, 98% of the chemicals agreed to in the treaty had been phased out. So what do you have? Industry does a bad thing, scientists identify it, they educate us about it. In this case, the governments, all of them, every single country signed on to that treaty, by the way, decided to phase out the thing that was doing the damage. And you can see a chart here how fast they were able to do it. It turns out you can change a lot when the law gets involved. And so what happened? They solved the actual problem. According to some models, the Montreal Protocol and its amendments have helped prevent up to 2 million cases of skin cancer every year and avoided millions of cataract cases worldwide. And so we identified it, the government acted, and we stopped that bad thing. He would have you believe, hey, remember those dumb hippies who talked about this? No, anyway, climate change is fake. The acid rain thing isn't quite as clear cut, but only because there wasn't as much international cooperation. The acid rain problems that were identified in Europe and North America have largely abated, again, because of government regulations on things like sulfur dioxide, as well as the combination of nitric oxide and nitrogen dioxide. We have emission controls. They were put in place by things like the US Clean Air Act of 1970. There was a Canada-US treaty about this and similar measures in Europe as well. Now, we don't talk about it much anymore because we're no longer struggling with it. There are parts of the world that are still dealing with acidification, which is commonly referred to by the term acid rain. Rapidly industrializing countries in some parts of the world don't have those regulations on those things, and they are still experiencing problems with acid rain. And so all of these examples are perfect examples of what he doesn't want you to believe is possible when it comes to other sorts of pollutants, especially carbon.
Yeah, I mean, I just think that Matt Walsh's behavior and his tweets are really emblematic of someone who is suffering from lead poisoning from inhaling lead in the ambient air. Another problem that was solved by the EPA because of regulations on lead in gas. The reason that your gas says unleaded now is because the EPA took action to ban the amount of lead that could be legally in the ambient air. Lead, there's no safe amount of lead for the human body. It can cause developmental delays and difficulty with cognitive processes, which I don't know, Matt Walsh, based on your denial of these basic facts, it seems like you might be struggling with that.
100%, yeah. No, that's another great example. I mean, people were throwing out others in replies to him, like, oh, like they don't talk about the Dust Bowl anymore. Yes, because government policies were put in place to try to deal with it. This is how it's supposed to work. We have scientists to identify things like this. we have government to protect us from these bad things, especially from industry. Honestly, Ray, I find it shocking that what we just described happened. I find it shocking that people paid attention to the scientists when it came to CFCs. The government actually acted, even though it must have cost industry money to change out those substances for other things. And we solved the problem. And every country got involved in it. It is madness to me that that was possible. We can't do literally anything. We can't subsidize EVs, let alone decarbonize the entire US economy. Like, these are perfect examples of what is possible when you look like, let's keep it real, when the media wasn't dominated by right-wing grifting a-holes like Matt Walsh and Tucker Carlson. Like, you didn't have nearly as much of that back during this period. Do you think that Ronald Reagan would have done this if he had been listening to Sean Hannity and Tucker Carlson and Laura Ingraham every night? Like, it's inconceivable. Anyway, there's one more tweet I want to point out. He says, because he loves being sarcastic. Let's get rid of fossil fuel dependence by switching over to vehicles that run on electricity that is generated by fossil fuels. This is a brilliant plan, and I can't see anything wrong with it at all. Well, you will tend to not see anything wrong with the case you're actually making if you never stop to think about it. And of course, he doesn't care. He might understand the problems with that tweet. So here's the amazing thing about EVs. Yes, in some areas, the electricity that powers them is still generated by fossil fuels. Now, that doesn't mean that there's no difference. It can be better to not have those emissions happening in densely populated urban areas. You can generate the power in other areas, which helps with certain types of pollution. But even so, the EVs have the capacity to, as we clean up our energy grid, have a larger and larger and eventually 100% share of the energy that they're consuming come from renewable energy. That is not possible in internal combustion engine cars, which he wants you to drive. It's a very simple to understand argument, simple enough that even he should be able to work it out. But of course, he's not here for it. He's here to protect oil companies. He's here to protect coal companies. That's why he gets paid. Any other thoughts, Ray?
No, just that Matt Walsh sucks.
He does. We'll see if we have time after our break to get into one other way that he sucks. We have a lot to get to, unfortunately. But in any event, that is all the time that we have for our first hour. So if you're listening on one of the linear platforms or on the podcast, thank you so much for doing so. We're glad to have you here. And especially if you are on the podcast, now would be a great time to head over to Apple Podcasts and give us a 5-star rating and perhaps review. I check those every once in a while. Love to read them. For the rest of you though, watching on the members app or on YouTube or on Twitch, that sort of thing, we have a lot more to get into, including good news, an actual act of heroism that we're gonna break down. And so we're gonna have, what? Okay, Sophie loves to throw, okay. Anyway, we've got all that coming up and more with me and Rayyvana, so don't go anywhere. We're gonna take just a couple-minute break and then we'll be back. Welcome to the Aftermath, everybody. I'm John Iadarola, and we are joined again, Rayyvana. Rayyvana, great to have you here. Everyone probably knows Rayyvana not only from appearing on a lot of different programs on TOT networks, but of course from Rayy-Actions. If you had to describe sort of like the log line of Rayy-Actions, what's your beat there? What do you tend to do on the show?
Rayy-Actions is the show where we laugh at the news because if we don't laugh, we'll cry. It's a fun time. We approach the news from a less doomeristic, more humoristic standpoint. And it's not all political. I always show pictures. I give you a little ray with 2 Ys of sunshine at the beginning of the show. And I like to show pictures of primarily capybaras because they might be the best animal.
I like capybaras. I'm not ready to say that they're the best animals, assuming that we haven't wiped out all of the pangolins, but I do like capybaras. So
pangolins definitely put up a strong showing.
They're pretty good. They're pretty good. And okay, well, with that, we got a lot to talk about. I do want to read some of your comments before we get into our next story, which is going to be a fun and spicy one. Daximus Draconis has been a member for 18 months and says Obi-Wan versus Anakin on Mustafar is the best lightsaber fight. That is a very good lightsaber fight. I don't know that it's better than the Rey, the guys in the red, and that was really cool. I just really like that one. I don't know. No, it was the most. Like I like some of the acrobatics, especially of the prequel lightsaber fights. But there was like a groundedness to the fight in that throne room that no other lightsaber fight has had. They were using their weapons like they had weight. They were tired. They were taking hits. It was less like it wasn't like it was in an opera. It was like it was in an action movie.
Okay, but that's what made it less of a lightsaber fight. That's why I liked it less. I agree. I agree with the chatter that said that.
Okay,
that one is the best fight.
I'm gonna go home and watch that movie. I haven't watched all of Rebels, so I can't respond to some of these comments. Anyway, people are asking about tonight's hearings. What are our plans? Well, our plans are to cover them, and so starting at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern time, you can join Cenk Uygur and Jessica Burbank, eventually being relieved by Brett Ehrlich. We will be doing full coverage of it, and that bonus episode is available to literally everyone. You should still become a member if you are in a position where you can, but you don't have to be. You can watch it anyway. And with that said, Chase Essex says, today is my wife and I's 5-year anniversary. Can I get a shout out to my amazing wife, Cassie? You in fact can. Congratulations, Cassie and Chase, for 5 years.
Oh, happy anniversary.
Yeah, how awesome is that? Let's see, Billy says in the super chat, happy Stockholm Syndrome Day, Sophie. Anyway, Jason Ray says, Kamala Pelosi 2024, make MAGA implode. No, but I don't want to implode. I don't want that. Anyway, don't do that to me. Over on YouTube, Realyn is gifted 5 memberships. So nice, thank you. Billy Taylor says, happy great big and birthiversary to Mama Bear Dragon. Oh, people giving shout outs to other people in the community. How awesome is that? Sailor says Rayyvana is mistaken. Last Jedi is one of the best. Getting some support in the chat.
Stop. Return of the Jedi is one of the best. Last Jedi.
It's a good one. May Money says, I also just wrote a dope fight scene in my novel I want to send to you. That would be great. I'd love to see it. And wish me luck on this job at Half Price Books. I love bookstores. I also love Half Price Books. I love that particular bookstore. We used to have it when I was going to UT. I love bookstores. It kills me that they're shutting down. Even in LA, like multiple, like just we have Barnes and Noble and some indie ones. Basically all we have. They're shutting down. It's a shame. Anyway, quick reminder, Tier 3 member hangout happening half an hour after the show. Also, we now have an account on SpeakPipe. So you go to speakpipe.com/thedamagereport and you can leave us little voicemail messages. We're gonna be integrating them into our show in the near future. So if you go on my Instagram, I have a story with a link to it. You can just click on that, leave a quick voicemail. I would love to hear your thoughts, questions, comments on the news, whatever you want to talk about. And with that said, why don't we talk about some more news, starting with this.
If conceiving a child would be disastrous for you, you believe, then do not participate in activities that literally billions of times in the past have resulted in the conception of a child. If reproduction, maybe I'll phrase it this way, because I really want to make it very simple for these people. They have difficulty understanding complex concepts. So we're going to dumb it down as much as possible. If reproduction would be a disaster for you, you believe, then do not participate in the reproductive act. There's always still going to be a chance that you reproduce. And if that chance would be like plunging off of a cliff level of catastrophe in your life, then don't participate in the act. Control yourself. Right? We're human beings. We should be able to exercise some self-control. Right? We're not beasts in the jungle that are unable to control our compulsions.
So that commentary from Matt Walsh would be absolutely disgusting, even if he weren't ignoring that some of the women he's saying should just control themselves need that abortion because they were just raped. If he wasn't just ignoring that, it would still be awful. If he wasn't ignoring the fact that some women get pregnant accidentally or intentionally, and then there's difficulties, complications that could result in her life being at risk. I guess she should have just exercised more control, or oh wait, she's gonna die, and I'm okay with the government forcing that. That's his position. But even if there weren't all of those obvious counterpoints to what he's saying if you don't want to get pregnant, all you need to do is be abstinent. That's the small cost that he will very casually put onto tens of millions of other people. It's convenient for him to define that as a small cost that he can force on other people, that they should exercise control in that area rather than, and here's a hypothetical world, he exercises control in the area of believing that his religious beliefs should be forced onto literally everyone else living in the United States. How about that? How about you exercise that control and believe that whatever BS you want to believe about the creation of the universe or what the creator thinks about your sex life, or he's watching you in bed, that's for you. You can have that on you. If you want to feel shame, over sexual acts and things like that, that's on you. You can do that. That's your religious liberty. But the idea that you can put that on everyone else, I don't know, we're not beasts. Maybe exercise some goddamn self-control, Matt Walsh. What do you think, Rayyvana?
I think it's fantastic that Matt Walsh has, been the first person ever to invent abstinence-only sex education. I mean, this is a novel idea. I'm sure that it will be extraordinarily successful. Like, okay, Matt, just because women are repulsed at the mere thought of you doesn't mean that it's really easy for everyone else to not have sex. But I mean, at the end of the day, if you actually gave a singular crap about protecting unborn lives, which aren't a real thing, but if you actually cared about that, then you would promote safe sex. You would be promoting comprehensive sex education, free birth control methods, free condoms, free IUDs, free oral birth control, whatever. You'd be promoting that. You would be promoting comprehensive sex education in the form of teaching consent, because those are the things that actually lower the number of accidental pregnancies, which in turn lower the number of abortions. But you don't care about that, and proving that right here by just telling people not to have sex. Yeah, they've been doing that for freaking centuries now. It doesn't work. People want to have sex. They're going to have sex. Matt Walsh, I mean, maybe after seeing your face, it's a little bit more difficult for people to do it. But
I'm good for a couple days.
Yeah, but people are gonna have sex. There will be accidental pregnancies. The best way to prevent those is through comprehensive sex education. If you actually cared about reducing the number of abortions, but you don't, because this is all about controlling women's bodies. And we also know this because you address women specifically and not men, which is a necessary component in getting pregnant, right? In generally for most people.
Well, Rayyvana, let's be fair. I haven't watched everything that Matt Walsh has said on this topic. It is possible that he went on a long rant about how guys have to stop raping women all the time everywhere across America. Maybe he did that. Maybe he did hours about how there's way too many male rapists out there and that they should really exercise self-control. It's possible. I'm not gonna bet a lot of money on it, but it is possible that he did that. I think you're being too fair though. I think the idea, you laid out that strategy of abstinence-only education, obviously it's been proven it's never gonna work and it wouldn't work. But again, we don't even have to get into that. It's none of his goddamn business.
Yeah.
Asking someone, you thinking at all about other people's sex life and believing that it should be up to you or the power of the federal government, which you are supplicating yourself before. I know that he loves to think that he's some like libertarian woodsy man. I don't love. No, you want the government to be in charge of what sexual acts hundreds of millions of people can be. You think that we socialists love the government. We have never prostrated ourselves before the government as much as you are when it comes to people's private bedroom activity. But anyway, no, it's a right. It's a right. We're going to get it back. We do not have, like, because my worry is that, well, what if it turned out that abstinence-only education did work? Well, then maybe they have a case. No, they don't have a case. It's not up to them. In the same way that your right to smoke marijuana shouldn't be, well, I mean, you could not be a beast. You could just, like drink some matcha or something. No, it has nothing to do with you, and it shouldn't be up to the government. Man, they love to talk about how we're supposed to live free and all that. And man, do they love it when Papa Government comes to make everyone else live in the same small and curious way that they're forced to.
I will just add that the odds that Matt Walsh has ever gone on some, long rant about how men need to stop raping is pretty small, considering he's defended Josh Duggar for molesting his younger sisters and said that if he found out his son raped his daughter, he wouldn't call the police. He's also said the Catholic Church doesn't have a pedophile rape problem. It has a homosexuality problem. So yeah, Matt Walsh seems like he's also said that consent is not valid and that he violates his children's consent all the time. His words, not mine.
Look, this is I was talking about on this main show yesterday. This is a shtick. Ben Shapiro, they're all just slight variations of the same thing. Ben Shapiro was invented by millionaires to make it seem as if the right wing has intellectuals or that it has someone who understands logic or whatever. He is supposed to appeal to the more blatantly misogynistic men who are so broken that the mere thought of a woman makes them fall apart. That's what he's designed to do. Guys who just want to be in a position of power and authority over women because they know they can't live in a free world where women are allowed to do whatever they want, live their full lives, and they'll find a man if they want to or not. No, he is designed to appeal to guys that do not want that, who want a strict hierarchy because they're terrified of women. That is who Matt Walsh is. And then Michael Knowles is the even more explicitly transphobic one. I've told the story before, so I'll make it brief. So like when you start to get into something, you'll spontaneously bring it up and annoy people with it. So before we started the show, I was telling Rayyvana about how I've started reading Miss Marvel, the comic books, just because I'm into it. And so I'm gonna annoyingly tell other people about it. I was in a green room with Michael Knowles, just sitting, and he just started bringing up the trans community like it's a thing that he just got into and he's got to talk about how awful they are. It was one of the weirdest experiences of my life. We weren't talking about anything a mile away from the trans community. He just brought it up. It was God, so weird. And honestly, it was kind of revelatory because I assume most of their stuff is performative on camera stuff. But there was no camera there. Yeah. Why was he so desperate to talk to me about the trans community? I don't know.
What a weirdo.
Yeah, they're all weird and they're weird for pay. It's awful. They're doing terrible things and they're harming people's lives and they're normalizing political violence and they're doing it so they can live in marginally better houses than they could otherwise. It's disgusting.
I'm so sorry. Did I just hear a dog flapping its ears in the background?
You did hear. You know what? I'm gonna do everyone a favor. I know that we're live. Yeah. This is Hilo. He's wearing his thunder jacket because he gets anxiety.
Oh,
in studio.
Me too, doggy. Me too.
Anyway, with that said, why don't we jump into? Oh, what an amazing story! Let's talk about this.
Guys, come here. Come here. Are you Xavion? Thanks, everybody. Sit out. Need medics. Come with me, man. Come with me. Come with me. We gotta get away from the house. Hey, we gotta get away from the house.
Imagine that you're just going about your day and you see this horrible fire, a house consumed by flame. What would your inclination be? What would you do? Well, for one man, Nick Bostic, he ran to help and ran into the burning building and helped save lives. It's amazing. There are real heroes out there and they're not just in movies. He's from Indiana. he ran into the home and helped save 5 people, including a 6-year-old girl. To do so, he had to jump out of a 2nd floor window with her. And he says he's no hero, which is the ultimate thing to say after you've done something that's indisputably heroic. But anyway, he says that the serious injuries he suffered were all worth it. So he was driving on July 11th in northwestern Indiana City, saw the house in flames, stopped, and ran inside to alert its residents. So there was an 18-year-old woman. She was babysitting 3 siblings, along with a 13-year-old friend of the siblings. So apparently the 18-year-old was able to help get some of the older kids out, but that one child was still missing. So he had to stay in the house searching for this last person as it was utterly consumed by flames. And so he says, I heard a faint whine, a faint crying noise, and I went down there till I found that baby. Because of the dense smoke, he said his only option was to exit through a 2nd floor window. He punched out the glass and jumped to safety with the 6-year-old. And in so doing, he suffered injuries, but he was able to do it in a way that all she got was a minor cut to her foot. So rescuing her in a heroic way and helping stop her from even being injured during that terrifying escape from the building. Now he suffered smoke inhalation damage, an arm injury, and other wounds. He was actually airlifted to a hospital and he was there for about 2 days. But he says that he just did what he would want anyone to do for him and his family if their home was on fire. And honestly, just reading about this makes me kind of tear up that there are still good people. It's so easy to forget that there are good people, but that is just amazing, Rayyvana. I love this story.
It's so sweet, and like we were talking about this before the show, but this is bravery that she would never ever see from a police officer. And it is actually a more dangerous job. Being a pizza delivery person, you have higher risk of being robbed at gunpoint or shot and killed from those robberies than police officers. There's a higher, also car accidents, there's a higher chance you're gonna die on the job as a pizza delivery person than as a police officer. So the thin crust line is real, and this man really truly exemplified what it means to represent the thin crust line. And it feels good to have good stories. Like, this is just a good person doing something nice just because he saw a tragic thing happening and chose to do it. So many people would not put themselves in that situation, and he saved lives.
Exactly. Yeah, I know some people in the chat are like, yeah, I know, but there's firemen. Well, yes, and that's very heroic. I'm not doubting that at all. I'm not taking anything away from them. We should think more often about how heroic that is. And by the way, I will say, maybe we disagree. There are cops who do some heroic things. There have been cases where they do. It's just, it seems like it should be expected. It should be the standard, and all too often they do the exact opposite. But anyway, the firemen also have training and equipment and backup. Like, they're ready for it. For a random person, you don't have that. And so I think you haven't been tested as much. The fear is far more real, more difficult to grapple with. You don't necessarily know what to do to stay safe in that environment to the extent that you even can. And being willing to do it anyway, to search for someone like that, I find so amazing. I had a friend in high school that after high school, he woke up and his house was on fire with his family. And he got some of them out, and one was still inside, and so he ran back in to save. I'm gonna start crying, like thinking about this, and he didn't make it out. Like, he got to safety, went back in to save a life, and didn't get out of there. So it is a very real risk, and not just the fire. The smoke enough can knock you out. It can kill you. It can suffocate you. And so I love to see people doing heroic stuff like this. We need far more of this. But anyway, they set up a GoFundMe page for him. It's raised more than $470,000, far surpassing its goal. I don't know what happens when something like that happens. I assume the money goes to him.
They still get all the money, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it would also be cool to have some of that money go to, the family who lost the house too. Like, yeah. But anyway, that's up to him. And by the way, he gets to do whatever he wants with the money after running into the burning building. I'll just say that. But
just given what he chose to do and risk his life for this family, I'm sure that he would share some of the money with the family.
Yeah.
Just seems like that kind of 100%. Person.
Yeah. By the way, like, it's so maddening, the stuff that people get paid like fabulously for. Like, a-holes in right-wing media that make millions of dollars, and all they do is pump out toxic bile. They make their viewers worse, they make the country worse, and they do it knowing that they will never be poor. And then there's good people, and I'm not just talking about like running into a building. Like my sister-in-law, well, I mean most of that side of the family is teachers, but my sister-in-law is like a 4th grade teacher, and she just struggles every day to teach these kids in Texas. And like she's never gonna make the money that like Tucker Carlson will make in a month. Matt Walsh will make more off of his transphobic movie or whatever than most teachers will make in their whole life. It's just I know that that's the system. It's just so sick the way that it's set up sometimes, what it incentivizes and what it doesn't.
Yeah, no good deed goes unpunished. So
yeah, 100%. By the way, I just want to quickly show you can see a photo. They had a headline about it, but we'll jump ahead to the photo of Nick Bostic recovering from his injuries. I mean, he spent 2 days in the hospital. I imagine that the smoke damage was significant, but you can see there the family. That's awesome. You think they stay? Do they stay in touch after that? Do they stay friends after that?
I feel like
that seems like it would bond you.
Yeah, absolutely. You had shared a near-death experience, and had the heroism of a stranger like save your life. You gotta be friends forever now.
100%. Yeah. Make a TV movie out of that. We could use it.
Yeah.
Anyway, with that said, that is going to be all the time that we have for our program today. Ray, I want to thank you for joining us. Where can people see more of your work, and what are they going to be diving into later on today?
Yeah, thanks for having me on. You can see more of my work today at 4 Eastern, 3 Central Time, right here on Twitch, TYT's Twitch channel. My show Rayy-Actions. We're going to be diving into Joe Biden getting COVID. We're going to be talking a little bit about Kamala Harris's supporters on Twitter. We'll be looking at capybaras, that I promise, but it'll be a really good time. So make sure you come by and check it out.
Consider, if there's time, maybe slipping one cheeky pangolin in there. Maybe.
I can do that.
Okay, good. Okay, thank you again. Have a good one. And for everyone out there, thank you for joining us as always. Got a couple little things to tell you about. One, tomorrow, Brett Ehrlich will be joining me on the show. We are going to be throwing away our garbage people of the week. So if you want to head over to the community tab of our YouTube channel at youtube.com/The Damage Report right now, you can vote for the community garbage person of the week. Can't wait to see who you come up with. Also, Indisputable is up next, but for some of you, you've got a bit of a tough decision to make because in a half an hour, our tier 3 member hangout goes live. So hopefully I will see some of you there for that. We're gonna send out a post right before we go live. And yeah, for now though, stay safe out there, stay sane out there. We'll see you soon.